And we are live. Okay, so you read the title. You know what we're talking about. Oh, we got the birds in the back. We got some water. We're feeling the breeze. We got a coffee. And today we got a little cook some. Okay, so important point of business today: how to dodge becoming redundant in a post AI world. That's right, AI is coming for you, and redundancy is just around the corner. Why is this true? Why should you listen? Why am I sure that redundancy is coming? Right? And my answer is AI. Because let's think about it, right? Either AI is a lie. Either AI is a lie, and we've all been fooled into believing this make believe science fiction fad, or it's very real. And as a Sam Altman is saying that the newest version of ChatGPT is apparently mildly embarrassing at best. The best AI in the market today is mildly embarrassing to what they have in store for us. Right. I don't have to spell that out to you. Well, that's a threat. And that's a threat to me. That's a threat to you. That's a threat to all that is human. Because because artificial intelligence is a bubble and it's waiting to pop. There's a bubble forming in the market, right? Which means any sort of human intelligence is now inferior and, quite frankly, will be displaced, right? Not replaced. Replace is when something is will become old and you decide to make the decision. You decide to change it out for something new. Displacement is when it just naturally happens. And that's what's going to happen if AI is not a fad. If AI is real and it's the threat that it's claiming to be, then we're in trouble. And it won't just affect commerce, it'll affect every aspect of existence. It'll affect your personal lives, it'll affect how you interact With your family, it'll affect how you interact with friends. It'll affect your job. It'll affect your dating. It'll affect everything because it can do everything, because it can learn everything. Because everything we do nowadays is based on computers and code, and AI is a master of all of that, and it can learn it faster than you. It can do it better than you, and it's way cheaper. Which means people will pay more for it, right? Like the value of, I think AI is severely undervalued. And I think that's because they're not showing us the entirety of it. What happens when your job can be completed in a click of a button? What happens to you? What happens to your retirement plan? Click of a button and you're gone. Poof. You have become redundant, no longer necessary. That is a very real and very possible threat that's incoming if AI is not a fad. That's important. Now, it could just be that the marketers and the advertisers and the shareholders are spreading all this stuff about AI to make money off of people's fears. It could be, right? It's possible if you don't know enough. AlphaGo beat legendary Go champions years ago, right? Years ago. AlphaGo beat the most complicated game in the world years ago. Their human counterparts, the legendary champions. I forgot the guy's name, but if you watch the AlphaGo documentary, he's regarded as this like legendary figure, and he's absolutely he gets like crushed. And they made like a cool story off of like the one game he won where he did like a really cool move that turned the AI delusional, which happens with artificial intelligence when it doesn't have enough information. But that was years ago. Okay, years ago. So years ago, we beat human logical thinking. Years ago, and now we're at a point where AI can beat the Turing test. Uh, so confidently and so amazingly that you don't even like you're not even doing a Turing test and you're being fooled by AI, right? Like it's one thing to do the Turing test, which is you have a conversation with something you don't know whether it's a human or a computer, and your ability to guess and how often you can guess that it's a computer is a signaling of artificial intelligence. Yada yada yada. Turing test. There's artificial intelligence out there that you don't even know is artificial intelligence, and that's a problem because things are happening much faster than you realize. Any clerical job, any person that needs to write emails, any person that needs to make a static ad, It's a click of a button. And the man of today, or person, needs to know what they're up against. And that is what you're up against. Whatever you're doing will become redundant. 90% of the things that are out there will become redundant. And the reason why I call it a bubble is because of the way and the speed at which AI is progressing. Either they're bottlenecking it or it's fake. And I can tell you with great confidence that what you're seeing is not fake. So we can only assume by logical breakdown that they are bottlenecking it. We've not even begun to see what AI is capable of. And we don't even know. The people who are at the cutting edge of this, they don't even know. That's what's crazy about it. Like you could ask the people that are at the cutting edge of AI and they will tell you a lot of crazy stuff that you wouldn't even believe. And even they'd be wrong at uh, the possibilities of what AI is capable of, because AI is not a creation, right? Nobody made it. It's emerging tech. It was emergent. I forgot the term, but it came up by itself, right? Like we don't know why it exists. We put enough processing power into a program, and then it started reasoning, and we don't know why it happened. And maybe we're just not told why it happened, and people know, but we don't even know how AI came to be, which is a scary thought. We don't know how it came to be, and we don't know what it's capable of. We do know, however, that it's coming for us. It's like AI is like Michael Myers on Halloween, right? It's coming for you. It's coming for you. And by the time you get to the reboot, it's already too late. You know, might have a shitty reboot, but it's still coming for you. It's coming out of that mental hospital. Actually, Halloween's a great metaphor for AI because that's like a that's the storyline, right? AI, like it, you don't know where Michael Myers came from, but it's coming for you slowly, and you might be able to put it in a mental hospital and lock it up, but eventually it's going to break out. It's going to become too big to control, and you're going to just have to deal with it. And you can try to kill it, but you really got to kill it if you want to kill it. Like I don't know if you've seen the final Halloween Ends movie, but you really got to kill Michael Myers uh, to kill Michael Myers. You can't just half-ass it, which is what they do at the end of every single movie. They half-ass it, and Michael Myers doesn't die. So, there's a fly trying to eat my protein bar. So, I'm gonna break the piece off that it sat on, so I don't catch venereal diseases. Cool. Flies. Amazing. All this worry about AI, and you get killed by a fly. It's life. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So AI is so good, it displaces us. That's our future, right? If AI is as real as it seems, if what we hear is true, then it is inevitable. It is like going 60 towards a wall, and there's only about 10 meters left. You know, there's only so much you can turn before you hit it. It's coming. Now, it's up to you to decide whether you have airbags or not, because it's going to hurt to everyone. I mean, even the people that are making the AI right now. You know, at first you make the AI, you hire enough people to keep it running, then the AI runs itself. It fixes itself. It trains itself. And suddenly the people making the AI are redundant. You see, everyone's going to get hit by this. So, fortunately, the silver lining is the silver lining is that, like AI, we have a similar problem. We don't know why we exist. We just do things. Now, I'm not exactly worried about like a Terminator situation, right? Like Skynet, because AI needs us. Fortunately for us, we're necessary because AI exists to be used by us. That's its purpose. Like, what else is it gonna do, right? I live in a world where it just exists, and what does it do? Exist for longer, and it does that. Think about a dystopian where all humans are eradicated by Skynet, and then what it has like these robots that dig up coal and what do you call it? Renewable energy sources, turbines. And what happens when there's hurricanes and earthquakes, and suddenly something important breaks down, and yeah, I can't fix it. And you know, just like for AI, for us, time is limited, and existence is fickle. We don't know when an asteroid could hit. We don't know when an earthquake could hit, and that would be all of existence gone, right? It's very possible. And AI has that same problem. So, fortunately for us, the relationship between AI and humans is symbiotic. But commerce dictates, right? Money dictates, value dictates that if AI exists and we humans do not get displaced, where we can clearly be displaced, then we are in an economic bubble. So, right now, and until we do get displaced, right now to then, we are in a bubble because AI could take, like, if you put the infrastructure in place in the next month, AI could remove half of jobs, half of all jobs. like the best version of AI out there. Half of jobs, like Thanos, gone to dust. And there's no time stone. There's no sorcerer in a cape. There's no Spider-Man. There's no one coming to save you. So what do you do? Right? We've set up the scene. That's the problem. What do? You have a problem. It's world ending. It's personal life ending. It's financially bankrupting. It's a problem. Thanos is coming. What do? Before we answer that, I want to talk about a story, right? And to stay on topic, this is about computers. Hello. To stay on topic, this is about computers, right? First, you had paper. And that's how you know, made notes. That's how companies kept track of everything. That's how governments ran. Everything was on paper. And then the computer chip was created. And you could have a screen and you could save data on something called a floppy disk and that was it. Suddenly paper became redundant. We still use it because it's useful to have hard copies, but suddenly you could save mountains of data on a little box. And then people started training to work that box. And everybody's on this new craze. Computers, you got to learn, it's the future. Data entry is massive, right? We're setting the scene. This is like what, 70s, 80s? Everything's booming. Things are going well. New technology. People are finally starting to get over crack. It's good. Things are good. And then suddenly someone figures out how to write code that displaces an entire floor of a business like that. That's what happened. You write a line of code and an entire floor gets to go home for the rest of their life. And that's tragic, but it's very real. And if you told people in the 70s and in the 60s that that was going to happen, they would have looked at you like they wouldn't do that. And maybe, maybe not as soon as it would happen. But no, uh, in the 90s, IBM uh, had a world record layoff of like 60,000 people. I think it was in a day. 60,000 people in a day. A computer company, biggest layoff in history. Now IBM is a pretty big company, and it's not like they died after that. They lived. That means things were still running, which means processes that people were doing still went on being done. Do you get that? Processes were still being completed. Things on computers were still computing, but people were no longer manning those processes. So, what do you tell someone in, let's say, 1980? Computers are here, but I don't think you should learn data processing. They'd say you're crazy. You're trying to keep me from a very financially responsible career. I'm going to have this job for the next 40, 50 years. I'm set for life. I know how computers work. I know how to work a computer. I can type. That was a skill, by the way. That was a skill you had to learn. You had to go to class and you had to learn typing. And it was a valuable skill back in the days. Typing on a computer was a valuable skill. And now, if you're 5, it's something that comes to you naturally. So typing classes are now redundant because time moves on. You get new and emerging tech, and it moves faster than you can blink. And the career you thought you were going to have, you're not going to have anymore. Or at least not for as long as you think. There is no 401k in this. You will get fired. A line of code will replace you. This is historical data. It has happened before. It will happen again. The internet has been around for less time than some boomers. That's that's proof enough that the fantastic things you can do with this little piece of metal and plastic in your hand, glass, that has a higher processing power that the thing than the thing they went on the moon with, right? Is used to send text and watch memes. That technology was displaced. Technology displaces itself. Technology. And it's working. Okay, cool. People displace each other. Technology displaces technology. Technology displaces us. Unfortunately, we can't displace technology because it's just too good. Because we created it. We know what is good, and we set the barriers. And if we want a machine to make a metal bar bend at an angle 100,000 times accurately, we can set it to that and make sure it does it. But if you put a guy on that job, you're going to get varying levels of accuracy. And that's just truth because we don't work like computers. We are more fallible. We can design a computer to be perfect to a certain extent, but we are not perfect. Okay, so what have we touched on? AI is a threat, and it's very real, and it's coming for you. 2, it's not like this hasn't happened before. So this isn't a new thing. This is something that happens in history when you have great advancements, right? This is what happens. It's the natural order of things. It's evolution. The better thing displaces the inferior archaic thing. And how do you counter that? How do you counter something that will replace you? Well, let's take it back to the 90s again. You went from jobs to suddenly everybody having a company. How does that make sense, right? Companies were, people had companies, but notice a cultural shift. Everybody wanted jobs, right? And then they realized you didn't have to get a job anymore. You could have your own company. In late 90s, you have the dot-com boom. Computers got so good, they displaced so many people. People started making use of computers and the internet to make money. Innovation. Now, of course, that ended with uh, not a great result, with some minor oversight of if you have a website, it has to actually make money before you invest in it. It has to be profitable. And all that money inside the internet companies went to nothing because those websites didn't do anything, right? That is human error. Unfortunately for us, AI doesn't make that error. AI will do everything better than us. And geez Louise, if it gets delusional at that level, then we're screwed. But regardless, that's at the high end of stuff. We're talking about average Joe Schmo, right? How does it affect you? Through the redundancies of the 90s, out came a solution which was innovation. And after the dot-com bubble, when everybody realized that, you don't just have to have an internet company that has a lot of traffic, you have to actually have something that makes profit. What did you have? Uh, the most profitable companies to ever exist by a large margin. You have companies now at $1 trillion valuations, or close to. I forget. Did as a company hit it yet? I haven't checked in a while. Amazon, Apple. It's happening. Innovation will need to happen if we are to survive. So, a threat is coming. It's happened before, so we know what will happen now because of the threat, what it imposes on our existence. And we know what saved us in the past. And that is innovation. And that's what's going to save us now. We have to innovate. When lines of code were replacing entire company floors, people decided to do what lines of code couldn't do. That's value. If you can do something, that the thing that is replacing you cannot do, then you cannot be replaced. Basic logic. If you can do, I'm going to repeat it. If you can do what the thing, I'm going to say it a little louder too for the people in the back. If you can do the thing, ah, lost my own track of thought. If you can do something that the thing that is trying to replace you cannot do, then it cannot replace you. Right? They did it in the 90s, the late 90s. They did it in a poor way. And then they figured it out, you know, just make it profitable. It was a bubble. People kept throwing money where there was no value, and there was a bubble, and money was lost. And then they figured it out. So now you have companies that are profitable and they make a lot of money. And lines of code couldn't just take that away from them. Now lines of code that do logical and like verbal and auditory and like images, like reasoning, that can replace you, and it can replace most things. Well, first of all, it can replace anything that is a simple process, right? Like bagging at a grocery store. That if you put the right kind of computer hardware, if you put the right kind of hardware there, that's easy. All you need is like security guards to make sure people don't steal, right? Any sort of email writing job, any sort of, geez, I wouldn't know if there's any sort of data entry jobs available still, but that's gone. That's gone. You know, and I guess the only kind of data entry jobs that would be available are where systems are so vastly different to each other that need to be merged, right? Systems that need to be merged that are vastly different from each other, perhaps written in a different code to each other, and are written in such a different way to each other, and in a unique and specific way that it's so difficult to merge without breaking it down, that you have to write so much code to make sure that it functions well together. That would require someone that's the only kind of data entry job you'd need, and AI could do it with a click of a button. Do you understand? Governments, I know the UK is, governments run on complicated systems that require a lot of people to hold it together and make sure the system doesn't fall apart. Those government jobs are not safe. Not anymore. They're coming for you. Anyone who has that technology will outbid you in terms of value. They are coming for you. Companies who can do what you do, they're coming to displace you. They can do what you do in a click of a button. They don't need decades of expertise. That is what's coming for you. And that's a problem. Because, sure, for a company that uses AI and displaces, let's say, floors of workers, floors of workers, entire buildings vacant. You know, do you think a company is going to need an office after it lets out half of their, like 90% of their employees because they're a tech company? Work from home. What do you think is going to happen to office culture when there's no more office? See, companies wanted to keep you happy so that you keep coming to work and you do the best job you can, because nobody can do what you do, but now AI can do what you do, so now they don't care. The only reason companies care about anything outside of the work you do is to keep you productive and keep you happy. And there's no need for that with AI. And so, work from home, make sure everything's running smoothly, and thank you. That's all. Productivity is taken care of. You push a button, and the thing happens. And that's the catch. The world is changing, and it's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing. The world is changing, and it's getting better and better. Unfortunately, it has to get better by displacing you. You are no longer essential. You are no longer valuable. You are redundant. See, when you're writing an email, AI doesn't make errors. AI doesn't forget birthdays. It doesn't forget anniversaries. Think about the implication of client relationships, right? As a as a as a sales department, right? As a form of keeping your clients happy, right? You never forget an anniversary. You never forget a name. You never forget anything. You never forget when and why their company was formed. You remember the shirt color in a picture from 2007, and you know their favorite color. You know everything, and everything you say, do, write is dictated by years of data that is not forgotten, um, and is constantly used to improve its understanding of how to do its job better. That is terrifying. To remove human error from an equation is to remove humans. So we have to innovate. We have to, otherwise IBM's gonna let us go. Otherwise, you know, you're never writing an email again. You can't write an email again. If you're writing an email, if you're spending time figuring out what to say in an email, you don't get it, right? If you're spending time figuring out what goes in an email, you don't get it, you've already lost. You're a caveman, right? Because you already know what you want in that email, right? You want to talk to Jonathan, and you want to tell him about a change in a certain product, and you want it to sound friendly, but also formal at the same time. And you want him to know in a certain time period, there will be an opportunity for Jonathan and Jonathan alone. And you want to stress the fact that this is a unique and rare opportunity that you are only giving to Jonathan, even though you're sending it to 1,000 people. And but you don't know how to word it. But all you have to know is what to say, and AI will write that for you in 1.5 seconds for half the price or even less than you will need to hire a person to write it for you and keep them around for, a month. It's cheaper than that. It's cheap, it's easy, and it doesn't need you. It's cheap, it's easy, and it doesn't need you. And that's a problem. you no longer have any value. But fortunately, as we said, since we are necessary for AI's existence, we can adapt. And we must adapt. And quite frankly, we will adapt. The people that didn't believe that anything good could come out of IBM laying off 60,000 people in the 90s um, were blissfully ignorant, and they couldn't see what was in front of them. And that's understandable, knowing that we have a greater grasp of history than any society that has ever lived because of the internet and all the information at our disposal. Now we can't be so ignorant. It's at this point, if you are ignorant, it's your fault, right? You can blame it on the times, you can blame it on circumstances, you can blame it on, you know, archaic understanding of how the world works, or you can move with the times, right? Because the evidence is in front of you. It's coming. It's here. It's better than you. It will replace you. You can't do anything about it. So what do? Right? It's a problem. And you can't bottleneck it. Because that's a bubble. The artificial intelligence bubble. I'd argue that the bubble's already here. Without even any infrastructure, you could easily replace half the jobs out there with a click of a button. Snap, Thanos, half of it gone. Right? So what do? There's already a bubble. And if you don't prepare, you're going to pop with it. If you don't prepare, you're going to pop with it. There's already a bubble. Do you understand? There's already a bubble. Imagine if I told you that the company you've invested in 2001 will go bankrupt in about 2 years. Imagine if I told you that the company will never make money and that it is a useless website in 2001, 2 years before the dot-com crash. What would you say to me? You'd say that's crazy and you can't tell the future. Right? That's what you'd tell me. If I told you a company would never make money the way it's going, and you know for a fact that it's going to keep going the way it's going, it's going to go bankrupt and you're going to lose all your money. If I told you that, you'd say I'm crazy, but even if you look at the figures now, you'd see it and that you were blind. And that's what I'm telling you right now. That's what I'm telling you. It's happening. It's already happened. Right? Your company isn't making money, and if it keeps going on like this, it's gonna go bankrupt. You're gonna lose all your money. It's like, but the internet's this new thing, and we gotta wait and see. No, just because it's a new thing doesn't change the law of, you know, doesn't change Newton's law, right? What you give in is what comes out. Now you put money into it, But if it doesn't produce anything of value that's as capable of creating profit, you're not gonna get any. You're not gonna get any returns. It's like building the world's largest pancake and then not eating it. It's gonna go bad. It's like buying milk only to leave it out in the sun for 3 weeks. It's gonna go bad really fast. No, but this is a new type of milk from a new company that sells it in cartons. It sells it in metal boxes. You get milk in metal boxes. Let's see what it does. Maybe this one doesn't need a fridge. Let's redo Ocean's 12, but call it Ocean's 8 and only with women, but it's going to be terrible. And why is it going to make money? Because all female reboots are the thing, and it's going to make money. But if it's not a good movie, no, check it. That's the thing right now. The culture wants to see women in movies as lead characters. Like, yeah, you're right. So let's just put a bunch of women in a movie, and people will come watch. Like, have you worked on the story? Uh, is it cringe? Does it have good dialogue? Does it represent the values of the original movie? Or is it just a rip-off cash grab and you use people's emotions to try and make a little money? You could make a really good, you could make a really good, just like you could make a really profitable website, you could make a really good Ocean's 8, but you don't. You have the money, you have the time, you have the expertise, but you don't. You don't want to innovate. You just want to use the fads to make money as quick as possible. And that's a problem. And notice that happens in every industry. Whatever's the fad, people try to use it to make money. Right now, people are trying to use AI and try to pretend like, oh, we just integrate it into your system and you just do everything faster. And you just have the system, and you don't have to let people go. It's not coming for your job. Everybody's doing it, and you're going to save so much time and so much money. No, in a few years, that same software is going to take your job. Nobody's coming to watch your hacky movies. If you want women to be lead roles, like, you can just make better movies and put women in them. And people and the audience will respond. You make a good movie with a female lead, and the audience responds. You give the market what it wants. It doesn't want Ocean's 8. It wants a good Ocean's 8. You don't just want a website that you can invest in. You want a profitable website that you can invest in. And by virtue of that logic, you don't just want AI in your company. You want it to replace everyone who's now redundant. Because if you don't, and your competitors do, you're going to be the first to fall. You're going to die out. And that's the issue. We cannot blame companies for opting to use artificial intelligence and laying off a bunch of people. You're getting fired because times are changing. It's not the company's fault. Because if they don't make you redundant, they become redundant. Do you see how that works? Technology is here, AI is here. and it's coming for you or it's coming for your company. If you don't get on the wagon, the last person at the platform is going to miss the train. You know, if you're last on the platform, you're going to miss the train. So, out of pure FOMO of missing that train, companies are going to opt in. AI is coming. What are we going to do? Company A is going to fire 10 people, and AI is going to do things much more smoothly, without errors, without coffee breaks, without cigarette breaks, without toilet breaks. And company B is going to have toilet breaks. It's going to have coffee breaks. It's going to have a cafeteria, which requires more staff to run. It's going to have cleaners to wash out the toilets after every employee has used their designated 20-minute poop time. And it's going to be inefficient. And companies that are efficient will do things faster and will do things better. And the market will respond by rewarding it. And companies that are slow and archaic and still use typing tutors, and cafeteria staff. They're going to be slower having their coffee, and it's going to suck. And they're going to lose money, and eventually they're going to die out. How many data entry companies do you know that are in the Fortune 500? I bet you'd find a lot of really rich data entry companies in the 80s. Now, this is just a guess, but I'm pretty sure in the 70s and 80s, you'd find a lot of very rich data entry companies with an army of typists and data entry experts that they had trained for the future. For future of technology and human experience. They trained in these jobs, and then they became redundant. And then came the internet companies. And when they finally got it right, a few years later, it's time for the graveyard shift. And, generally speaking, it's not like a battle is about to happen. Perhaps mentally, but things will just run their course. People will lose their jobs, and they'll try to find more jobs. And it's already hard to find a job. And it will just become harder to find a job. And governments will have to respond. You'll probably get a universal basic income. Yada, yada, yada. Things will happen. People will live on. Unemployment, poverty. We'll figure it out. But in a system that is displacing you, how do you get out on top? You're being made redundant, right? And you can choose to accept that. You can choose to accept that, or you can choose to reject it. Whether you're a CEO of a company or a receptionist, this affects you all the same. Either you opt in or you opt out and become redundant. You either use AI and get ahead, or you innovate and keep yourself essential, right? Think about a certain thing that happened a few years back where everybody had to wear masks, right? Who got to go outside? Who got to get on buses? Who got to go to work? Who got to breathe fresh air? Essential workers. And the concept is the same. You're either essential or you're staying home. You're either essential or you're staying home. Right? You're either, that's the mantra for today. You're either essential or you're going home. I'm going to put that on a banner. Wait, that's from yesterday. You're either essential, you're either essential or you're going, staying home. You're either essential or you're staying home. That's the mantra. You're either essential or you're staying home. Do you understand? It's coming. And it's not like it can't happen. It's already happened many times in history. And if AI is real, which there is plenty evidence for, it's going to happen. And it all depends on when they decide to bring it out, which is even more terrifying because you don't know how long you have. And the best choice of action you have is to begin preparation right now. So, how to dodge becoming redundant in a post AI world? You become essential. Now, that's a bit of a cop out answer, but I'm going to go into detail. Essential meaning bless me. Essential meaning you do what AI can't do. You do what a line of code can't do. Do you understand? How do you escape a bubble? By being nowhere near it. When it pops and the residue of that bubble starts spraying everywhere, the people closest to it will be drenched. And you want to stay dry. You don't want to be in the vicinity. When that bubble pops, you will be dry. Stay away from anything artificial intelligence can touch. That is the solution. What can't AI do? That is the question of the future. And you might think, oh, it's going to be art and creativity. No, that's the first to go. That's that's the first to go. If you're an artist, like you remember back in the days, you'd see like deviant art, like posters and stuff, and they'd be like, oh my God, how'd they do this? Well, now you can too with the click of a button. I want to see what Batman looks like if he dressed like Harley Quinn, but was a centaur. You might need years of experience and detailed knowledge of character design and costume design and human and centaur anatomy. And after all that experience, you can put that all together and come up with some sketches of how it could look, bare bones, like just the outlines, and then you figure out a design, and Then you come up with, what part of the costume am I going to use? What part of the centaur? No, press a button. It's done. Thank you. You're done. And you might think, but that's not art. You're right. But who decides? You? Is good art, okay, is art creative expression or what can make money? Right? Is art creative expression or what can make money? Now, you can argue that creative expression is what art means, but go back 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years, and the only art you can find that has any value are the expensive ones, and anything else is lost in history. History remembers what is valuable, and what is valuable is good. So, you know, and that's not coming from an apathetic place. Me personally, personal expression in art is most important. That's important to me. But let's be realistic. You can keep your art in your room and find it as a form of therapy. You can throw those paintbrushes around and see what you make and what your heart pulls out of you. You can press a few buttons on a keyboard and make a song. You can take a few you can click a few pictures and make a collage, and you can keep it in your room, and that's fine. But if it doesn't make money, it doesn't matter. And AI can do things that can make money. AI can do self-expression, and you don't even have to pick up a paintbrush, and you don't need decades of experience to come up with a prompt that represents what you're feeling. And you may think, well, that's not proper art. Well, if skill is what is required to express, then maybe we're all wrong. Expression is expression, and it's cool that you have a skill that you can use to express well with. But if there was never a need to express with skill, then you'd never develop that skill anyway, if you could express without it. And you could say that there's therapy in the hours and decades and spent developing a skill, and that is part of expression. Sure, doesn't matter in 1,000 years when you're going to be dead and people find a picture of Batman, Harley Quinn, Centaur, and that's art. Nobody's going to care that you spent hours working on something, using skills you developed over decades. It doesn't matter. You're displaced. So you must innovate. That's the mantra for today. Innovate so that you are essential, or you're staying home. You're either essential or you're staying home. Mantra for today. Keep that in the back of your mind. And this is more like a telling you of the problem. I will be discussing further detail in upcoming lives. You best believe I'm coming back, um, to help us into the new world, because it's coming. The new world is coming, and in fact, it's already here. And you got to take the wheel, man. You got to take the wheel. You can't have preset destinations in your driverless car. You have to take the wheel. Otherwise, the car is going to take you to whatever direction it wants to take you, whatever destination the car wants. So you drive. You drive off road. And yeah, I can't drive off road. It's not ready for that. It's not prepared. A driverless car is really good on roads, but it needs help off road. And it might be able to kind of go off road because it has sensors and cameras and it can kind of figure out using GPS which way it should kind of do. But its main goal will always be get back on the road so you can figure it out from the best vantage point. But you can get off road and you can stay off road because you don't need the road. Because where we're going, we don't need roads. Right? We've seen the past. We know it's coming. We know it's happening. So let's get back to the future. I'm proud of that one. I'm pretty proud of that one. I'll be honest with you. I'm proud of that one. And I don't care. I don't care if you don't like it. Because that's a good movie. And it deserves recognition. Back to the Future 1, 2, 3. All goated. The future is coming. Believe it, little boy. Is that from Age of Empires? Believe it, little boy. I'm in Dubai right now, and I think that's a great example of the future that's coming. Right? Because the Arab oil trillionaires, let's call them, they weren't fools. They're not fools. They're intelligent people. They saw it coming. Yeah, they could have sat there and said, we've got so much oil. It's never going to run out. Right? Instead, they said, we don't know when this oil is going to run out. We have an idea. Let's build something using this money that no one can build because no one has our resources. And they built this metropolis. A perfect metaphor for the incoming new world. And now their money is tourism. And the oil is or was gone. I don't know if they still have oil, but they prepared. They were smart. They weren't ignorant. And they changed direction. The future was coming. And they were winning, luckily, with their finding of natural oil reserves. And you know what they did? They decided to use that and win some more. And they're still winning. They innovated. They went away from oil. Oil became a bubble the second they realized it was finite. Do you see? Dubai is a representation of everything that is innovation, everything that is evolution. When circumstances are changing, you evolve. You don't sit there and deny it. There is evidence for this. It's happening right now. It has happened right now. It happened years ago. The evidence was there years ago. And the people who prepared are winning right now, and they will continue to win. And the people that begin now will win more than the people that start 10 years later, that start in 6 months, that start next week, because it's changing so fast. You could lose your job next week, next month. And it all depends on a few people who have control over this technology. And will governments get scared of such a fast transition and bottleneck it? It's possible. But either way, things will happen. And it's coming for you. So you have to innovate. You have to change your environment. You have to change your plan. And that's the only way out of it, because it's coming. Right? It's the boogeyman. And it's not coming to kill you, it's coming to replace you. And it's going to happen. There's too much evidence to deny. You must shift. There is an artificial intelligence bubble, and you have to get out of the blast zone. If you're writing emails for a living, change your job right now. Figure it out. Be smart about it, but begin right now. Take the wheel. If you are in a driverless car, go off road. Because it has already happened. And it will continue to happen until it's too late. And you can wait till it's too late, or you can prepare now. Because it's going to happen. And I'm not going to stop saying that. And I'm not going to get tired of saying that. Because when you sound like one of those people on the street that are talking about the end is near, people look at you like you're crazy. But this isn't a religious prophecy. This isn't a dream I had. This is me keeping my ear to the ground. This is me seeing the world around me. And this is real. Redundancy is coming. Editing videos, give it a few years. Posters, give it a few years. You can tell with the extra fingers and the weird eyes, it's AI. Give it a few years. What was it a few years ago? It didn't exist. And now you're getting viral images of people mistaking real people, and it's AI. And what are you going to do then when your job is redundant? You're redundant. What are you going to do? You chopped up a video and you edited it in what, 3-4 hours? Okay, click a button. Give it 5 minutes. There's a narrative, there's a logical story, there's captions, everything. 5 minutes. Okay, cool. Done. It's content now. You're not going to be able to compete. You're going to get left behind. If you're a company right now and you're wondering what to do about this whole AI situation, opt in, fire some people. It's either you or them, unfortunately, and it's not personal. And you know, if you care about your workers, then maybe step away from anything that uses AI. Like start training people in skills that don't require AI, that are far away from the world of AI, because it's coming. And either you'll die or they'll die, but someone is dying. Unfortunately, if you die, they die too. So think of it as mercy. And your only skill now is the same skill then, in the 90s, when a line of code was replacing entire floors of workers, is to innovate. Suddenly you go from data entry workers to having thousands of small businesses on the internet, millions of businesses now, because the infrastructure's there. You don't need a shop. You just need a website, which is cheap and easy. You don't you don't need someone to design that website anymore. You just you need to go to Wix, or you need to go to Squarespace, and you have a website, and you put a couple ads on social media, and you've got yourself a nice running business with a pretty decent margin, and you can live a nice, comfortable existence with not too many amenities, a few luxuries here and there. And that's what people had with a job in the 80s. And now that's what you will lose. And so you need to innovate if you want to live a normal life. How can someone get started? Um, Join the live next time, and I'll let you know. I'm not going to give out the entire sauce today. This is a logical breakdown as to why you should be worried. This is your sign to start getting worried, right? If it's made sense to you, keep listening, because it's not going to be easy. Innovation is difficult. When they started innovating with internet companies in the late 90s and early 2000s, there was a massive bubble. You don't want someone that tells you they have all the answers, walk this way. You want someone to logically break down every single step of the way so that you know what you're getting into, right? With the dot-com boom, you would look at a website, see it's a mass amount of traffic, and say, I'm going to invest in that company, right? But then you look at the details, you spend a few hours looking through what the company actually does, and you're like, crap, maybe I shouldn't have invested in this, right? So it's not an easy solution. And if anyone's telling you that they have the answer to they have the answer right now, and it's really easy and you just have to walk this way, look how many people are doing it, they're lying to you, because the answer is not out there yet. The answer is coming. Do you understand? The answer is coming. Do you understand? We don't want another bubble. What is of value that AI can't do? What is of value that is outside the realm of AI? It's outside the bubble that's about to burst. What is outside? That is the $1 trillion question. Because AI is coming for everything. AI is coming for everything. AI is going to be your girlfriend. It's going to be your shopkeeper. It's going to be your best friend. It's everything. So, how do you do what AI can't do? It's the $1 trillion question. Okay. And if you want to know how to start, study AI. What does it do? And it does everything, but what does it actually do? And once you know what it can do, you know what it can't do. And we're going to start getting into that live by live. So subscribe, turn on notifications, and listen to the lives, interact, and we're going to figure this out. Do you understand? This is the time to innovate. It's the time to get those brain juices working. Get some dust off those cobwebs. You are no longer in automatic. You are in manual mode. You have to change the gears yourself now. You are off road. Do you understand? Okay, I gotta go do some off road shit. Um, this was fun. If you want to know the entirety of the argument I've just made as to why you should be afraid and to not be depressed about it, but to now get your brain started and look for solutions, watch the replay of the live. I will be back later and we're going to discuss the $1 trillion question on how to dodge becoming redundant in a post AI world. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you later. Take care, and you're either essential or you're staying home. So get off road. Bye. Bye.